Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be with you. I hope you can hear and see me all right. Yeah, we're together on this last morning on this week's journey. We looked into the first noble truth, explored what this concept of dukkha, which the Buddha used quite frequently, actually could mean. Yeah, an ongoing exploration. And we're going to end this week's teaching with drawing a connection between suffering and self-reference, the self, and see where that comes into the picture. Before we start, just the usual framework, me trying to talk only for 15 minutes, then we're going to have a practice on the topic of the day. And after that, I'm once more very happy to hear your questions, your lovely reflections, your insights. It was so lovely to have you sharing all that this week. It makes the session so much richer. So I definitely want to make time for that as well. Yeah, any questions, anything you'd like to share, please put it into the chat box. And maybe put a few capital letters like question or response in the beginning so that I quickly pick it up. If you run into any technical issues, that goes there as well. And what else in terms of housekeeping? Yeah, if you can't hear me, can't see me, just put that there as well, and I see whether I have to do something with my end of the technicalities. Okay, so let's dive right in. And see whether we can explore or see something fresh for us this morning. So we spoke a whole lot of dukkha, this term which is rather an umbrella term than explicit suffering, going from anywhere, going from the small niggles of the everyday life, the small frustrations, which I know as a mom, just like my son not getting his clothes on in time for the bus. Like that is a form, and the frustration coming up, that is a form of dukkha. And of course, on the large end of the scale, all the potential losses and all the potential separations, that is dukkha too. So it's a whole variety. And we're going to link this session today to the next upcoming week. Next time when I'll be back, and it's in October, so not far away, 5 weeks only. We're going to talk about the second noble truth. So we're nicely in the next few Sangha Life weeks linking those 4 noble truths to each other. The Buddha said that the experience of suffering, has an origin, and that might be about as exciting as the first noble truth when we first look at it, where he says, well, there is suffering, and we all go, yeah, we know. And now he says, well, suffering has an origin. And we might not be quite surprised by that. It might not sound so exciting, but it can already tell you, without going very deep into it with you, it's such a relief. When something has an origin, it arises as an effect based on other dynamics. The alternative to that understanding would be that suffering is your fate or my fate. That is just what it means. This is your experience. It has been handed to you. You go through it, and that's it. Kind of an idea of fate, or in the worst sense of the word karma, which is not an appropriate used term, but anyways, we use it in popular language like this. It's your karma, and we definitely need to talk about that. Or it's coincidence, mere bad luck, you can't do for anything against it. Or it's determinism, one thing comes to another, and you can't do anything about that. And I think neither of those 3 is a particularly inviting choice. So this, what the Buddha transmitted in the second noble truth, saying, well, dukkha arises too. to a whole large field or network of dynamics coming together, playing together, that is actually, it opens up some wriggling space here. The Buddha did not deny in that some aspects in this network which contribute to your suffering, that you can control them all. This is what we try to do. We think we can control it, and then we see dukkha almost, or suffering, or the situation we don't want to have. We see it as a whole compound, as a something, and we try to push against it, and we try to make it go away. And the Buddha said, have a good look. It consists of several dynamics, several contributing factors. And some of these factors, and he did not deny that, they are going to be out of our reach. They are not in our control. And some of these factors, you will have some wriggling space around. And, well, part of our practice is to open up more wriggling space by learning how to accommodate the unpleasant, the challenging, that what we want. The drive is the pushes, the pulls, a form of liberation, openness through a sort of, let's call it in psychological terms, emotional regulation. And we can all need a bit more of that because our minds are not very capable of doing so without training. And the other one is which we talked about yesterday, our skillful responses to that which is there, that which is painful, that which we can't change. So you might remember what we talked about yesterday, compassion and the process of acceptance and changes of perspectives. And then there is a need also in this picture to some compounds of this network. We react with an ability to soothe and calm ourselves, and settle and collect the heart, to allow maybe clarity or to arise, or open up the heart a bit so that compassion can flow through. So you see, different pieces of this network need different responses, and we need a good look at that. And now here we come, dependent arising of factors, one linking to the other, leading to the other, to actually get to know over time, to say, well, this is how I skillfully respond to that aspect, and this is how I skillfully respond to that aspect, rather than seeing suffering as a whole and then just like saying, denying, controlling, or feeling overwhelmed. Looking into this network. And one aspect here, which he often mentions in the teachings, and which can equally be as much creating a headache, is this teaching of self-referencing. This is what I like to call it. It's the arising of identity, the arising of a strong sense of self. And you can just play with that. I love to play with that. Whenever you notice a form of dukkha having an impact on your well-being, on your peace of mind, on your ease to meet the world, whenever there is friction, whenever there is a challenge, you can bet very well that there will be a stronger sense of self than usual. Usually when we notice there is suffering, we also notice a stronger resonance of I, me, mine. Something along the lines like, I don't want this. I'm afraid of this. I want to make this go away. And then it can, if it goes unstopped and unchecked, it goes into an even bigger picture. I'm such and such a person, you are such and such a person, my life is such, my relationship is such, my body is such. So it almost like, those clouds in the summer, shortly before we're going to have thunderstorm. At least here in southern Germany, it works like, you see the clouds building all afternoon. They start out like these nice little soft somethings at the sky, and then you can watch them. You can watch them grow and grow and grow, and At least by the evening, thunderstorm is coming up. At least it was like this in my childhood days. It has changed due to climate crisis a bit, but this was what you could observe. Yeah, and the same thing is with the arising of identity. Yes, there is the dukkha, and then the self-reference starts to create momentum around this, out of this frustrating, of this feeling of ouch, out of a conversation with something which is real, which has impacted the heart mind. No need to deny that. Yeah. The thought might arise, I am being treated unfair. Yeah. And then the thought might arise, you are such and such a person. Our relationship is such. And then it goes from the momentary situation and it describes the past. Yeah. All the past experiences come up where we have been treated unfairly and the storyline develops itself. Yeah. It's almost like, this kids play where you connect dots. Yeah. So now dots of present are connected with dots of past. And guess what? Why not also connecting dots of the future? Yeah. Either what I'm going to do about this, and I'm going to train to take a conversation course and see how I can make things better, or I going to give them peace of mind. Yeah. And woof. Yeah. We go into this whole large story. And the sad thing is, in this moment where the heart mind got so involved in story creating and self-referencing, what actually gets lost is the capacity to meet that ouch with a sense of compassion, with a sense of true acknowledging and true caring. Because what the heart mind does, it tries to organize around, it tries to integrate that suffering into our personal story. Yeah. And that brings us, it also has a slight advantage of bringing us out of touch with the ouch and kind of going on a meta level where we think about what that ouch says about me and how it integrates into our life story. So not in touch anymore. So it's almost like this contact with the suffering. It creates an agent, a self, who sees it as its job to do something about the suffering. Yeah, and at least to integrate it somehow into the story of my life. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Now, next important thing. This sense of agency, this self-reference is not necessarily a bad thing. I dare to say, even as a Dharma teacher, that it's actually good to have this tool, of self-referencing, this sense of agency. Yeah. And I find it very important in moments where there is a need of this body, this heart, this mind to being taken care of. We have this tool of self-referencing. I need, we could say body needs, we could say mind needs, you could say heart needs, yeah. But to give it kind of an oomph, kind of an emphasis, the being creates the self and saying, I need. Now we have this sense of agency, I need, which I can put in contrast to others, yeah, saying, I need, you need, okay, we need to negotiate, yeah. And so it helps me to have some form of agency, yeah, some form of accountability for this body, heart, and mind needs, yeah. And then it allows me to communicate with others, yeah, and to negotiate needs and to create social structures. I have once met a person who has said, well, if this self is empty, 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 like anatta, as we say, I try to, in conversations, I try not to use the words I, me, mine, or you and yours, and they and theirs, yeah, whatever it is, or he or she. That conversation turned out to be a whole mess, yeah. And to me, the conclusion arose to say, well, it's a tool. Yeah, it's a tool. Even in our communications, it's a tool to maybe transmit a helpful story. Yeah, or share something which allows in the other to arise compassion and metta and all of this. Yeah, our teachings, which are hopefully to some degree nourishing and helpful, they arise partially based on this self-construct. Yeah. So can we make room for it? Yeah. Not demonize it. Yeah. It's okay to have this tool, and we have many other tools around that. And one aspect of this self-reference, which I also like to deeply respect, is that it constantly attempts to organize impressions and impact and give the world some structure, yeah, reduce its complexity to something we feel we can handle, yeah, so that we can maneuver, yeah, can engage with this world. And it also gives a sense of stability and safety, yeah. And you will notice in moments where you need stability and safety, yeah, that is another form of dukkha, feeling lost in this very complex, very dynamic world. A sense of self will give some form of stability and structure. So there are all good reasons to have, yeah, this dynamic within. And sometimes, when it's very triggered and very active, it will kind of overshoot. Yeah, it will overshoot in its attempts to structure and to get body, heart, and mind what they need, and maybe a little bit more, because it very much goes along with thinking, oh, the more the better. Yeah, we might need to store it for later. Who knows? Bedtimes are coming up, probably. So it will overshoot. And what if we see that self-structure is just another dynamic of the heart mind, self-referencing arising, self-referencing relaxing, and you will notice moments where there is hardly any self-reference. When I stand in front of a beautiful flower and just admire its beauty, there is almost just like beautiful impression going through the tool of the eye, touching consciousness, joy reverberating in the being. There is no self-reference needed there. Yeah, no strong sense of I am looking at the flower. That would actually kind of suck the joy out of it for some degree. Yeah, so you can notice over the course of the day self-reference arising, self-reference dropping. And sometimes when there is a lot of dukkha, what we can do is to calm that sense of self, that sense of agency down, to say, oh, it's okay. Yeah, I can just be with that. I can just hold that. The more confidence we have in our ability to do so, as we discussed the other days, the easier it will be to soothe that down, to calm that down, to say, no, we don't have to make a plan for the rest of our lives. We don't have to go deeply into the past and attach all those other moments to the already existing dukkha. Let's just be with that. Yeah, we can come to a step of agency out of a skillful, wise response later, when I feel there is some clarity and some groundedness back. Yeah, we're gonna take care of the needs, dear self construct. Yeah, that's not a very caring name, is it? We're gonna take care of that, dear one. Yeah, you can call it dear one later. But for the moment, yeah, let's just soothe and calm and ease a bit. Yeah, that is negotiating with it like this always helps, at least my sense of agency, to take the drive out a bit. So the teaching of the dukkha partially is that this overshoot of the self-referencing, yeah, that in a lot of times will add extra dukkha to the experience. There's the initial ouch, yeah, and then there is the self-reference along that, and because the identity you then experience is a painful one, you have two dukkhas, yeah. Very easy example, all of the time, is guilt and shame, yeah. You have a painful experience, like someone making a negative comment about something, yeah, and just like being in a friction with another human being is unpleasant. And then the story of shame adds to that, and then you have two dukkhas to hold, yeah. You have maybe to handle the interrelational dukkha, and you have to handle, the dukkha of not feeling worthy. Yeah. And that actually, you very easy image, holding two things is harder than holding just one thing. And that eventually holding two things will make it harder to just be there for it, because you can imagine it tugs and pulls and pushes on one end, it tugs and pushes and pulls on the other hand. And somehow we can't emphasize that enough. The pain of a painful identity, the dukkha of a painful identity, the dukkha of something being said about me as a person is usually very threatening to the being, creating very much nervous energy within. So to handle that as a dukkha as well, maybe that is the last, idea I wish to share with you this week, is to recognize that dukkha too. Ouch, that is a painful self-referencing story right now. This idea of not being good enough, that is really painful. Yeah. That sense of guilt, that burden which I feel like I'm always carrying around with me, which I'm not able to lay aside because I'm not allowed to. That is really tiresome. That is dukkha too. Yeah. So maybe you can notice the suggestion for the practice for today. A sense of self arising together with challenging experiences. Just greeted, saying, "Hello, dear one, I'm seeing you trying to take care and take action." And actually notice a little bit, is this helpful right now to have this strong sense of self? Rather than condemning it blindly right from the beginning, is in, what is your task? What are you trying to do? Are you helpful and supportive because you help me to take care of the body, heart, and mind? Or do you actually cause a little bit of stress and pain and tension? Yeah. And if it does, just notice that as yet another level of dukkha. Yeah, saying, oh, well, that feels not so nice. That feels challenging too. And maybe that gives you the little bit of distance to the story of the shame, to the story of the guilt, to the story of how your life is. Yeah, to just like get a little bit of breathing space around that, so that you can look at it rather than being in it. Okay, enough ideas for this morning. I want to practice with you. Let's find a comfortable posture. Sitting, standing, lying down, walking. What feels best for this bodily energy this morning? Maybe you try it out and you change the posture during the meditation if you feel like. And make yourself comfortable. Allow yourself to get a little heavy wherever you are. Even allow yourself to maybe slump a bit this morning. And we can build up and broaden the body later. But maybe it's good to, first of all, get really heavy and settle in. Allow the hands and the lower arms to be really like weights, heavy weights on your legs, at your side. And then imagine that they could, with all their weight, tug gently at the upper arms, maybe the shoulders, invite them to sink as well. Low, low, low. it feels good, you could do the same with your feet, imagining them to have extra weight this morning. And then allow that extra weight to gently invite the pardon me, calves, the upper legs, the hips into the earth, into the ground. See whether you want to take a couple of slightly, only slightly deeper inhales and exhales. Mostly the exhales, not so much interested in the inhales. Let the inhales come, but invite the exhales to go a little longer. And then we ask just this question into the body, heart, mind space. How am I this morning? How are you, dear one? Dear body, dear heart, dear mind. And just listen. Listen as if you listen to an old friend having a lot of time. And maybe the good friend is a bit shy on words this morning, so it takes time before telling its story. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to squeeze the words out or make a lot of sense of them. You're not the psychoanalyst. You are a good friend, just a listener. Or maybe it's very talkative, not shy at all, and it has all kind of experiences to share and thoughts to share, and maybe it helps to lean a bit back and recognize the overall picture, saying, "Oh, that is quite some energy this morning." No need to pick out a particular experience if they come quickly and dense. Just saying, wow, quite some dynamic here. Maybe you're noticing after a while that some experience is very dominant, very much in the middle of attention, maybe a pressure or tension somewhere. And then you can acknowledge that, saying, yeah, that seems challenging. That feels tense, maybe even a bit painful. I see that, I feel that. And then very caringly we can ask, and what else? What else do you experience? To your heart, mind, to your body? What else is there for me? If this feels all like too much this morning, like meeting those many expressions of body, heart, and mind, maybe there is a strong reference around something painful, something unpleasant, something challenging. What if you imagine that you're looking from some distance at these experiences, like leaning back into the spaciousness all around you, including the sense of spaciousness into your mindfulness, like a bird's eye view, and space, space, space around that. And sometimes the quality of our very mindfulness is one which is narrow, which is sharp. We might have an unknown sense of self in the way we look at things. The I has become that which observes, which watches out for danger or problems. I'm the one who sees and is aware of problems, challenges, things which are just not quite right. Can you soften the gaze? Maybe literally soften the eyes a little bit. As if looking at a broad panorama. No chance to take it all in because there are so many things to see. So you can soften that gaze. Sometimes the sense of self arises as I'm being the one who thinks things through. I'm the one planning. I'm the one analyzing and understanding to reduce complexity, to know what to do. Maybe you notice a resonance in maybe your head, maybe the front or in between the ears somewhere. Quite some tension, quite some potential for fresh, bubbling thoughts, or even an urge to think, a necessity to think, something which can't quite quiet down. So used to keep the planning, the analysis going. Just see if you can just gently breathe there, like as if the breath could be a very soothing, calming rhythm to say, there, it's okay. You see just 5 minutes of giving up that role, giving up that control, relaxing into almost the hammock of breathing, or the hammock of spaciousness around the head, whatever feels inviting to you. Well, and if the sense of self doesn't want to dissolve, it might be there for a reason, it might feel a need, an urge to protect and safekeep, just respect that. Just respect that. Saying, okay, Just stay there and we see whether we can soften the very edges of that tension, the very edges of that restlessness. If all that talk about self feels confusing and brings up more of self-consciousness, saying, oh, I don't get it, maybe I'm not doing it right. Oh, just notice that pressure. That feels probably a bit agitating or causes some friction. Saying, well, not necessary, just come to enjoy your body, your breathing, just this moment of pause in the day. And then we bring it back to the body. We anchor, we ground in physical experience. Maybe the feet on the floor, the sitting bones on the chair, on the cushion. Maybe you're leaning against something. And bring back some attention to this physical contact, experience of the earth element. Once more, taking a moment for a little care and love to nourish the body with a gentle and nourishing inhale and exhale, saying here, a breath or two for you, dear body, may you be well today. And then very gently starting to stretch and to move, to yawn and to sigh. And allow this still to be part of your meditation. A slow transition from the form to the formless. And when you feel ready, you can open up your eyes and come back to your room, wherever you are, and come back to the screen if you would like to. So, I wonder how this morning went for you, what your experience was over the past couple of days. Anything you would like to share with us? yeah, very much welcomed. Please feel free to use the chat box. And Wendy already wrote that she found it helpful and seeing self-referencing as a useful tool. Yeah, noticing if it's overshooting. Yes, I find this is a much more peaceful way of looking at self and self-referencing rather than, yeah, seeing it as something which has to completely go away. I'm meeting people on retreats which have this heroic intent to get rid of the self and be a selfless person. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this would be something accordingly to the middle way the Buddha described. I think to be aware of the self and see where it's overshooting and see where it has its appropriate place might be a wiser way to practice. Ruth is saying, as a woman holding generations of self-negation and self-sacrifice, I'm only just starting to feel the emergence of the self. Yes, I realize this creates duality and dukkha and want to soften the edges of this, as you say. Can you say more about holding this balance? Beautifully discovered, Ruth. This is something which is true for many of us. Yeah, some of us have been talked and educated into a way of being as selfless as possible for whatever reason. Yeah, because a strong sense of agency, like someone standing up to say, well, you see, here is this body, this heart, this mind, it has needs. Yeah. And it's not okay to overstep them. It's not okay to ignore them. But what I really want you to do is to negotiate them with me. That can be quite uncomfortable for others, can it? Saying, oh, no time, no energy, sorry, and my needs are very important too, so get rid of yours. Some of us have been educated in that way. And if I look back into the generation I was raised in, there were much less, let's say, publicly available tools for mindful, wise communication, for example. So many things were still fresh in concept and not really practiced on a larger scale in families, etc. So we were basically, many of us were basically risen in with a lack of tools in families and in larger communities. So no wonder that the old principle of either you or me, either my needs or your needs was very much present. So as a response to that, some of us might now, with a lot of practice and compassion and care, notice to say it's okay. It's okay to have some form of self-agency and to actually care for this body, heart and mind because no one else on this planet will reliably do so. Now, just as the human mind works, it has the tendency to go from one extreme to the other. Yeah. So I see a lot of people who discover this appropriateness to, take care of the self and then overshoot, almost like with a form of, the whole shadow from the past, the whole pain from the past, the dukkha of the past, fueling that and then almost overshooting in some form of extra pressure, extra frustration to the negotiation of this moment. So there is an add-on of the past which comes into this moment and we overshoot. I hope that makes it rather clear. So the meeting of the pain of the past, saying, well, that has been hard, and I can still feel its echo. I can still feel the shadow coming up every time someone is not readily negotiating, to know that as past dukkha, and then to get some form of clarity saying, this is the specific situation here and now, and I want to be wise about that. I hope, Ruth, this gives some idea for what needs to be differentiated here as a very first step. Jasmine is writing, thank you for recognizing that selfing is actually useful. I noticed that I have attached a lot of shame to selfing, which in it self has created a huge amount of dukkha. Yeah, well spotted, Jasmine. It's so useful to recognize the selfing as sometimes very important protective mechanism. Give it a little inner child compassion. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and the same as with Ruth will apply. There might, yeah, due to the dukkha of the past, be a shadow which impacts how the self wants to act out in the present. So this ongoing form of grieving, like we talked about yesterday, will be necessary, yeah, to respectfully deal with that shadow. And the other thing is what you might have heard the Buddha saying a couple of times is anatta, yeah, anatta, this self being empty, yeah. So how does that go into that picture? And it goes in beautifully, nothing negated here. I'm not throwing overboard the Buddha's teachings. To saying, yeah, that is a dynamic. It arises out from the heart mind to protect body, heart, and mind. And it can go to slumber. And it's one tool amongst many. Yeah. Maybe the need and the wish comes up to take care of that need. Yeah. Let's say I'm having had 4 cookies and something in me wants a 5th cookie. And then I might be wise about this I, which is crystallizing. Yeah, it's almost like a crystallizing movement to saying, well, I notice you, self agency. Yeah, I could go for the last cookie, but actually I have the compassion and the wisdom, and I have the clarity, and I have the generosity qualities, all other tools around me. And something says, well, no, not right now. Yeah, not right now. So it's one tool amongst many. And if we see it like this tool, we don't give it the substance we usually can. And when it gets substance, and when we truly believe it to be a thing, then it becomes like this strong identity. And the Buddha was careful about that. He said when a strong sense of self arises, and he said really a strong sense of self, not just any, a strong sense of self arises, dukkha is inevitable. Yeah, and that was what I tried to point to today. Kevin is writing, I was reminded of the Buddha's image of second arrow being fired into the first arrow from what you shared just now. Yes, Kevin, beautiful. Yeah, that might be all kind of things. It might be initial dukkha, response to dukkha. It might be initial dukkha and shadow from the past coming on top of that. And as I shared, I think I shared at some point this week, don't go into the idea that the first arrow is avoidable and all the others you should have under control. I'm a lot of the time just watching arrow, 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 and then I notice the dynamic changes and I can maybe catch the 5th, the 6th, whatever. Yeah, but kindly, our practice is kindly working towards a lower number of arrows, but yeah, just a potential for guilt here with this simile. Rivka is writing, how to hold together at the same times, play, spaciousness, and caring and worries. Thank you. I like to, because yeah, caring and worries, place and spaciousness, that's a lot, isn't it? And particularly the worries will have a lot of discursive material, yeah, thinking about something. So what I like to do is to go into the felt sense. And I might have some somatic echo of the worries, maybe in the space, maybe in the head, maybe in the heart. Yeah, some felt sense somewhere in the body, and can feel this worried place. And then I can also feel, yeah, not being single focused in my awareness, but I can feel that, and I can feel a sense of spaciousness around. So I go into the feeling, and I invite almost in an experience in the central nucleus of my awareness, and in the periphery I have spaciousness around that. And if it's too much, I bring the spaciousness in the nucleus of my awareness, and I'm just slightly aware of this tension, to actually be able to hold it. Yeah, so that would be something which maybe needs a bit further explanation, Rivka, if that was a bit cryptic. So Tamar is writing, she's saying thank you for the teachings. She has become aware this week that I was not so much aware of my own dukkha, small and big, and thought I should just carry it. Beautiful, yeah, very well spotted. I do suffer from all the suffering in the world, the news. I feel it sharply. Also things around me, as if it gets under my skin. I have difficulty accepting it because I feel overwhelmed and feel I should not accept that others suffer so much. I still have difficulty accepting the First Noble Truth, although with my personal pains I seem to be able to cope better. Wonderful question, Tamar. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Now, careful with the word acceptance here. Yeah, acceptance, to me at least, does not mean to say that's a suffering. I have just to cope with that. Yeah, to say that is the status quo. At the moment, there is suffering. Yeah, at the moment there is suffering within me, and at the moment there is suffering within this world. Yeah, if I impulsively react to that, I will by the unpleasantness, I'm pushed into action. Yeah, I'm pushed into action to do something about that. When I instead am very much in touch with saying, yeah, there is suffering. I can feel that. I see that. Yeah, I can hold that for a while. Then I'm able to go into a skillful response. And boy, we need skillful response. Yeah, skillful, non-reactive response to experience. And we need that in the world as well. Yeah, it's the whole discrimination going on, the whole climate crisis. It would be tragic to sit here and say, well, let's go on and just try to accept that. Yeah, and that would be a really tragic point of view. No, of course not. But not as a reaction and impulsively being pushed into doing something, but as a wise response. What can I actually do? What is my small, humble contribution, which I can actually offer on a sustainable level? Yeah. So thank you for that great question. And that brings our week together to a conclusion. It was lovely to be with you here. And just an invitation. We have another week of Sangha Life coming up, middle of October. We have I'm going to offer a compassion practice, a week of daily practice online, very similar to here, where we're going to deepening our capacity for compassion in the daily life. So have a read if you're interested in that quality. And then we're going to see each other maybe in October for the next session. And if you have any questions, concerns, something you would like to share privately, I'm going to give you my email address again. Oh, it's gmail.com. Yeah. And I'm happy to be in touch with you. And last but not least, if you have the possibility to support Sangha Life and the teachers there, one of them being me this week, we're very grateful for your support. And I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who shared something with me in the past. It's a pleasure to be part of your generosity. So thank you so much for being here this week. Any questions I did not answer, please write them to me in an email and I'll be happy to give you a short note on that. So thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy your day, and hopefully see you soon.